a very small military. They rely on our military. We basically protect Canada.
Some other countries are also reviewing their contracts to buy these very expensive fighter jets from the U.S. over trade concerns.
You know, they don't pay very much for military, and the reason they don't pay much is they assume that we're going to protect them.
Canada, America's closest ally, its partner in defense, trade, and history, has just made a move that sent shockwaves through the Pentagon. In a decision that stunned military insiders and outraged Washington power players, Canada has officially canceled its multi-billion-dollar U.S. fighter jet contract. And they didn't just walk away quietly. They dumped it for competitors abroad. Welcome to Traveling Vibes, your home for hard-hitting political stories and deep dives into the decisions shaping America's future. If you're new here, hit subscribe now. You won't want to miss this one, because tonight we're unraveling a story of politics, power, and betrayal that's rocking Washington to its core. Donald Trump, once confident that his administration's America First policy would lock in defense contracts and dominate global arms sales, is now raging behind closed doors. For the Pentagon, this isn't just about money. It's about trust, influence, and the crumbling foundation of a decades-long military alliance. For Canada, it's a power play, a bold rejection of American dominance in favor of independence. And for the world, this marks a seismic shift in the balance of military power. This is a story of fighter jets, backroom deals, and political drama, but it's also a story about something much bigger: America's slipping grip on global influence. Over the next 2 hours, we'll take you inside the shocking collapse of this contract, reveal the internal battles in Washington, and explain why this decision could reshape US-Canada relations for a generation. Let's start with the basics. The contract in question was one of the largest defense deals in North American history, a multi-billion-dollar agreement for advanced US-made fighter jets, likely variants of the F-35 Lightning II. For decades, Canada has relied heavily on American defense technology. From Cold War-era jets to NATO cooperation, Canada's military power has been intertwined with US innovation and production. So why the sudden break? Why walk away from a deal that seemed inevitable? Sources inside Ottawa say this decision was years in the making. Canadian leaders have grown increasingly frustrated with US defense pricing delays and political conditions attached to contracts. In particular, the F-35 program has been plagued with criticism: skyrocketing costs, delivery setbacks, and ongoing technical glitches. Critics in Canada argued that buying into the program would lock their military into a long-term, expensive dependency on US contractors. But this isn't just about numbers, it's about politics. Over the past decade, relations between Washington and Ottawa have grown tense. Trade wars, tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum, and bitter disputes over dairy and lumber left a bitter taste in Canada's political class. The Trump administration's America First doctrine, while popular among his base, alienated allies who felt strong-armed by Washington's economic tactics. This fighter jet decision, it's payback, a calculated public rejection of US pressure. And it's a warning shot to Washington. Canada will no longer play the junior partner in defense deals. For Trump, this is a personal blow. He's spent years championing US defense exports as proof of American strength. Losing a contract of this magnitude, especially to a close ally, undermines that image. Behind closed doors, sources say the former president is furious. He reportedly called the decision a betrayal, demanding to know how the Pentagon allowed this to happen. The Pentagon's shock is understandable. For decades, Canada has been one of its most reliable partners. US defense contractors have relied on Canadian orders to sustain production lines, justify research costs, and secure jobs in key swing states. A loss like this doesn't just hurt pride, it hurts American workers. Defense plants in Texas, California, and Ohio now face production cuts, threatening thousands of jobs. But if you zoom out, this isn't just about jets. This is about power. Canada's decision signals a growing trend among US allies. They're diversifying their defense partnerships. Reports indicate that Canada is now in talks with European suppliers, particularly from Sweden and France, to secure fighter jets that come with fewer political strings attached. This marks a dramatic shift in North American defense dynamics. For decades, Canada was firmly in the American orbit, especially through NORAD, the joint US-Canada Aerospace Defense Program. But this move suggests Ottawa wants more autonomy, more bargaining power, and less dependency on Washington. Why now? Analysts point to a perfect storm of factors. Trump's trade wars, Biden's lukewarm diplomacy, Canada's desire for military independence, and the rise of global competition in the arms market all played a role. But there's also something deeper. The world is changing, and the US isn't the unquestioned defense leader it used to be. This story echoes a larger narrative: America's slipping dominance in a multipolar world. China is aggressively expanding its defense exports. European manufacturers like Saab and Dassault are winning contracts that used to go straight to Lockheed Martin or Boeing. Even smaller nations are investing in homegrown defense tech, reducing their reliance on Washington. For years, US defense companies sold weapons not just because of quality, but because of America's diplomatic muscle. Buying US meant buying into the US security umbrella. Now, allies like Canada are saying, that umbrella comes with too many storms. Inside Washington, this has sparked panic. The Pentagon has launched an internal investigation into how this contract was lost. Lawmakers are demanding answers, while defense contractors scramble to reassure investors. The loss is being framed not just as a financial failure, but as a strategic humiliation. Meanwhile, in Canada, politicians are celebrating. This decision plays well domestically, where skepticism of US influence runs deep. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, often criticized for being too soft on Washington, is now painting this as a bold move to protect Canadian sovereignty. The message to voters is clear: Canada won't be bullied. The ripple effects don't stop at defense. This decision threatens to spill over into trade relations, energy policy, and even border cooperation. The US and Canada are deeply intertwined, economically, culturally, and militarily. A rift in one area can destabilize the entire relationship. And make no mistake, this rift is widening. Over the next hour, we'll explore 3 key dimensions of this fallout. First, the economic consequences. How many American jobs are at risk because of this canceled contract? Which states will be hardest hit? And could this trigger a new round of trade disputes between the US and Canada? Second, the geopolitical shift. What does Canada's decision mean for NATO, NORAD, and global security? Are other allies watching and considering similar moves? Could this embolden Europe or Asia to distance themselves from Washington's defense industry? And third, the political firestorm. How will Trump's allies spin this loss? Will Biden's administration try to mend ties or double down on pressure? And what does this mean for Trump's influence over US defense policy moving forward? Let's dive deeper. America builds the best planes, the best tanks, the best everything. Nobody can touch us, Trump boasted during his presidency. For years, this wasn't just rhetoric, it was reality. But in this case, reality has changed. Canada's move exposes a vulnerability. US power doesn't guarantee loyalty anymore. This isn't the first time an ally has chosen alternatives. In recent years, countries like Turkey, India, and even Germany have diversified their defense suppliers. But Canada is different. Canada isn't just an ally, it's family. It shares the world's longest undefended border with the United States. It's deeply embedded in US security infrastructure. For Canada to reject a US fighter jet deal is like a family member refusing your protection. The symbolism matters. Allies around the world are watching. If Canada can break from US dominance, so can they. And in a world where China and Russia are eager to expand their influence, that sends a dangerous message. But from Canada's perspective, this was a rational decision. The F-35 program is controversial even in the US. It's one of the most expensive defense programs in history, plagued with delays and technical problems. For Canada, choosing a more cost-effective, reliable option isn't just politics, it's smart governance. Still, Washington isn't used to being told no, and this no has teeth. Expect US lawmakers to retaliate economically. Tariffs, trade restrictions, and stalled negotiations on key issues could follow. The US-Canada relationship is entering a period of tension not seen since the softwood lumber wars or the NAFTA renegotiations. Canada's message is clear. It won't be pressured into deals that don't serve its national interests. And for some Canadians, this is long overdue. For decades, critics have argued that Canada's defense spending was too heavily influenced by American politics. This move is a declaration of independence, and a warning that Ottawa won't blindly follow Washington's lead anymore. As this drama unfolds, Trump's reaction has been fierce. Sources say he's furious at both Canada and the Pentagon, blaming weak leadership for the loss. In private conversations, he's reportedly called this a disaster for American jobs and a humiliation for our military. Some insiders believe this could become a major talking point in his political comeback efforts, framing himself as the only leader who can bring Canada back in line. The Biden administration, for its part, is treading carefully. Publicly, officials are downplaying the rift, insisting that US-Canada relations remain strong. But behind the scenes, there's real concern. Losing a contract of this size isn't just a headline. It's a strategic loss that could embolden other allies to explore alternatives. And let's not forget, America's defense industry isn't just about national security. It's a massive economic engine. Contracts like these sustain tens of thousands of jobs, pump billions into local economies, and support entire regions. Losing even one deal sends shockwaves through states like Texas, where Lockheed Martin builds the F-35, or Connecticut, where Pratt & Whitney manufactures jet engines. As the dust settles, one thing is clear. The balance of power in North America is shifting. Canada's decision shows that even America's closest allies are willing to walk away when it suits them. For a country used to calling the shots, that's a bitter pill to swallow. And for viewers like you, this isn't just a story about fighter jets or politics. This is a glimpse into a changing world, one where America's dominance isn't guaranteed and where allies are starting to think like competitors. This is Traveling Vibes. Subscribe for the full breakdown as we take you deeper into this story over the next 2 hours. The headlines only scratch the surface. The real story? It's a web of politics, power, and shifting alliances that could redefine America's role in the world. Stay tuned.